A new book entitled The Third Way presents a major idea that will renew the American dream. This book is co-authored by Upendra Chivukula. Upendra was elected to the New Jersey Legislature in 2001, becoming the first and only South Asian representative in the state's history, and was Deputy Speaker for the New Jersey General Assembly. Upendra has a professional background in electrical engineering and was considered one of the legislature's leading experts on telecommunications, science, and technology issues. Currently, he serves as the chair of the Telecommunications and Utilities Committee, vice chair of the Homeland Security Committee, and is a member of the Transportation Committee and of the Health Information Technology Commission. The Third Way is very interesting, and I spent some time with Upendra discussing the details of the Third Way, such as building wealth through employee ownership.
Well, Upendra, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Jim.
You know, I was looking at this book, The Third Way, and it really impressed me so much that I said I would like to talk to the co-author on this. And since you're the co-author, I have a lot of questions for you, if that's okay. What prompted you to write? What prompted you and your buddy to actually write this book?
Yeah, it's very interesting. You know, Vinny Newsom, my co-author, and he comes to me one time in my office. Say, look, this is a great idea in terms of the third way. We have, socialism is fair but doesn't work, and capitalism works but it is not fair because the wealth is concentrated in a fewer hands. And he said, we have to hire somebody to write about it. I said, no, we will write it. And being at the time I was a legislator and was part-time, and so I was able to spend the time. And he did a lot of work in terms of researching. And we really care about what's happening to the middle class and the poor class in America, because the wealth is not really getting spread out. It is just concentrated. And we wanted to address that issue, make people aware of that.
Okay, thank you. Tell us about the concept of inclusive capitalism.
Right. Actually, the idea goes back to our founding fathers. You have Washington, Adams, Jefferson, and Madison. They all talked about broad-based ownership. When they were worried about wealth being concentrated in fewer hands, and that's exactly what has happened. And President Abraham Lincoln, when he signed the Homestead Act, giving 160 acres to the Americans to go west, and land is the capital, and it took about 90% of labor to get something out of that. So 10% capital and 90% labor. And after that time, the Industrial Revolution, now with the technological advances, what happened is that the numbers are reversed. Now capital is 90% and labor is 10%. And because a lot of automation and a lot of the technological advances, so what is happening is that as a worker, how many hours can you work? 8 hours, 12 hours? So a lot of the discussion has been about minimum wage and how do you make it fair. And right now the discussion about $15 minimum wage. Federal minimum wage has been increased 29 times, but the income disparity is growing ever rapidly. So I think that's why we want to encourage the broad-based ownership. That's what the concept that our founding fathers talked about, and that's the principle here. The third way, it's a bridge between some of the principles between socialism and capitalism. And it does not mandate. You see, it is a way of incentivizing corporations to share some of the wealth with their employees. If you look at Chobani, the yogurt company, the owner has given 10% of the company to the employees, and because they have contributed building the company, and so he said it is appropriate we do that. And there are already 10,000 companies and 15 million people already benefiting from the employee ownership programs. That's what the key program that we are addressing here.
Yeah. The other thing that you addressed in your book is the disparity between the the rich and the poor. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, definitely. There is, according to Congressional Budget Office, you have top 20% own 86% of the capital. And that means other 80% only gets 14% of the capital income. Capital could be investment land, it could be stocks, bonds, and things like that. The other fact is that the Brookings Institute came up with a number saying that top 1% got 275% increase in their income, whereas the other 99% stayed same or negative, and that's the challenge. And so we want to make sure that there are two types of income. One is the wage income, which is proportional to the number of hours you work, and the other income is the capital income, that is the ownership. Brought out as a stock, or the employer giving some of the things, or you buy your own stocks also. But I think that's what we want to promote in this book, that because 50% of Americans, we live in a capitalistic society, the great country in the world, 50% of Americans own zero capital. That's one of the things. People always talk about wage income, but they're not talking about capital income. So we stress tremendously on that.
And just to follow up on that a second, you really feel as though the economic reality for the middle class will change because of this?
Of course. The former White House chief economist, Jay Bernstein, put out a recent report, saying that one way to address the income inequality, the income gap, is through stocks and bonds and employee issued. I think there was a very nice report that came out. And what we are doing is that if you look at our tax system, United States, we pay the highest corporate tax, which is 35%. And corporations, there are many loopholes in the tax system, and many corporations pay zero or near zero taxes. And there is also the phenomena called corporate inversion. Recently Pfizer tried that, trying to become Irish corporation, and because the taxes are so high that they don't want to pay. So another thing, presidential candidate Donald Trump talks about manufacturing, bringing back manufacturing into the U.S. One of the things, if you have employee ownership and employees are willing to take the risk, you can bring back manufacturing into the United States, make it competitive within the global scheme of things. I think that's the thing, and we cannot mandate corporations to do that. We want to encourage them, and Speaker Ryan and the Congress is talking about tax reform, and we want to make sure that this message gets in there. And this is to, a lot of people ask, how do you verify that the money going there? So one of the things, this is a form of tax credits, which is after the fact, and they have to, one of the things we talk about is that 50% tax cut, so that way the employees will share that the tax cut through tax credits with their employees, only condition, that is the thing. And in the urban areas, urban economic zones, cut it 100%, bring the private investment into create the jobs, grow the economy, also create employee ownership.
This is Jim Bullard reporting for Access New Jersey.